We'll move on and talk about Nottingham Forest, Pete. Now, we know about the PGMOL, this ongoing situation that Paul was at the game versus Everton. Can you explain, please, an update for us on what's going on? And actually, are there potential shouts now that the controversial penalty decisions in that game could actually have them relegated?
Well, obviously, it's not going to help their fight to stay up, but it's too late. The game's gone, done. You have to move on, brush yourself down, and look forward to these last 3 games. That's what Nottingham Forest have got to do. Obviously, Howard Webb has come out and admitted in that mic'd up show when they looked at these controversial decisions that probably Anthony Taylor got one of those penalty decisions wrong. I think it was the Hudson-Odoi, Ashley Young tackle in the second half when probably VAR would have recommended for Anthony Taylor to go and look at the incident on screen, which they didn't do. And obviously no penalty was awarded. And we all know what happened in the aftermath of that with Forrest's statement on X and everything else. And it all got a bit out of hand, really. So I think PGMOL have held their hands up that they got that one wrong, but that doesn't do Nottingham Forest any good because it doesn't give them any points back or anything like that. So I think for Forest now, they were hard done by in that game with the decision, like a lot of teams have been hard done by this season with some of the decisions from VAR and the referees. But yeah, I think for Forest now, they just got to move on. I thought they played quite well against Manchester City last weekend and were unlucky maybe not to get a result with a bit more better finishing. They possibly could have caused an upset in that game. But for me and I think for everybody connected with Forest, all focus has to be on these last 3 games now. They've got Sheffield United away this weekend, which is a great opportunity for them to get 3 points on the board. And then they're at home to Chelsea and then potentially away to Burnley, which could be a final day shootout if it does go down to the wire with Burnley finding a bit of form and trying to close the gap on Forest. I think there's only 2 points between them right now as well. So, yeah, it was unsavoury, everything that happened after that Nottingham Forest-Everton game. But I think they've got to move on now and just focus on what they can achieve on the pitch.
Paul, Kieran Maguire said that they could lose like £70 million, give or take, in revenue if they are to get relegated. Given everything with FFP, PSR that's happened for them, how concerning is that? And actually, do you see them staying up or do you think they are sort of inevitably going to get relegated?
I think they've got enough to stay up. I've always said it. I think performances-wise, you look at the players they've got, you look at Hudson-Odoi, you look at Elanga, Gibbs-White, more than any. The goal-scoring form that Chris Wood's in, they were unfortunate at Everton. Like Pete said, played very well against Manchester City. Home form should be the key for them, but it hasn't been this season. You know, they've not been that good at home. But you look at the table and you look where they are, and those games that we just reeled off there at Sheffield United, who are already done, they're down. You'd like to think from a Forest point of view they get something there. Home to Chelsea, I'd fancy them at home to Chelsea. The way they played against Manchester City. Chelsea, I think they've won, you know, they're not so sure on the record, but they're struggled away. I've got it in my book here. They've won one of the last 8 away, Chelsea. That was before the Villa game. So that's now one of the last 9 that they've won. In Cole Palmer, they've got a real star there up with Erling Haaland for the Golden Boot. But actually, Chelsea coming to the City ground wouldn't hold much fear for Forest, I don't think. And then Burnley away on the last game of the season. They've got 3 real opportunities, and it's in their own hands. You know, they're relying on others. You look at Luton, Brentford and Everton are out of it. It's between Forest, Luton and Burnley, isn't it? And 2 out of the 3 are going to go. But I think Forest are better equipped. And I think, honestly, if we go on history and previous history, what's happened with the appeals, we're awaiting imminently, where we're told it maybe today or maybe tomorrow that Forest get their answer. If they get 1 point back, I mean, that's going to be such a huge boost for them, and the momentum that could give them. This could go down to goal difference, but I think with the players that I mentioned, the likes of Murillo at the back, I mean, he's been excellent this season. Every time that I've watched them, he's been excellent. If they do go down, or even if they stay up, I think they'll be tested for him. I think there'll be bigger clubs that are looking at him. But they've got a strong enough squad, and they've got enough in that team to suggest that they've not given up. They're playing for the manager. You know, like I said, I saw them at Everton. Yes, they got beat, but they deserve something more out of the game. They're okay against City, and they've got players there that can perform well. And with Chris Wood scoring goals is always a big one when you're down there. You know, keeping clean sheets is tough. You're down there for a reason. But actually, if you're putting goals in at the other end and you're causing a threat, and they caused Manchester City a threat last week.
Pete, I mean, Paul mentioned it in there about the points deduction update and a timeline, please. What is that looking like? Are we expecting it today, tomorrow? Could it roll into next week? And actually, are Forest likely to get a point back? And could that make the difference for them this season?
Yeah, obviously, they had appeal hearing, which was held last week. So we were maybe even expecting something to come out before the end of last week. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some news on whether they've been successful in getting any points back by the end of this week. We all need to know as soon as possible, not just Nottingham Forest, but the teams around them in this relegation fight. Need some transparency as well, so they know what they have to try and get if they are to stay up. It'd be huge for Forest if they got points back. Obviously, they've made the appeal, so they are optimistic that they can get something back from those 4 points that was taken off them for breaching PSR rules as well. Again, this survival fight is going to go down to the wire, so every point's going to be crucial. So if Forest could get something back, even if it's a point, could go a long way to securing Premier League football for the club next season as well, and it just moves them further clear of that relegation drop zone. So yeah, fingers crossed for the good of the integrity of the league that we do get some resolution on what's happening with that appeal by the end of the week, and then we can focus on the football on the pitch and let them scrap it out there.
And Pete, in terms of some of their star players, whether they do get relegated or not, are we expecting bids for the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White or Anthony Elanga, or actually do you think they're going to be do you think they're likely to keep the squad together going into the summer?
Well, if they go down, obviously they will lose players. That's just what happens. That's the nature of football. The vultures will be circling around, and the players themselves want to test themselves at the highest level. Morgan Gibbs-White has been instrumental for Forest for the last couple of seasons as well. So there's obviously interest in him. Newcastle do like him. Tottenham like him as well. And he's probably the most sellable asset right now. If you do look at it that way, he's going to command a huge transfer fee, probably 50 to 60 million at least for him. But like Paul mentioned, a lot of the players at Forest have enhanced their reputation probably this season. If they were to go down, I think there would be takers for Chris Wood. He scored goals in the Premier League this season, and I'm sure Chris Wood himself might fancy staying in the Premier League. Murillo has been a good signing from Brazil. Left-footed centre-backs, there's always demand for those because there's not many good ones around. I'm sure there'll be interest in him from Premier League clubs and also abroad. And as I said, Alanga's had a good season as well after coming in from Manchester United. So yeah, there's a lot of good talent at Nottingham Forest. Ideally, they want to stay up and secure Premier League survival. But again, they might find themselves in a situation when June 30th comes around. They might have to sell to balance those books because obviously they've already breached those PSR rules once, and I don't think they'll be too far off breaching them again.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.